want to know my life story, that's going to take a lot longer, and it would ideally involve a bottle of Prosecco, or two. I was brought up in a Christian family. As a family, we mainly lived up in the northeast, apart from a brief stint in Hemel Hempstead, where, as it happens, I was born. Then back up to the northeast 2.5 years later. When I was 10, we moved to Poynton. My mum and dad, Jenny and John Firth, my older brother Andrew, that's how I call her, and my younger brother Davey, we always called him that. We started going to Poynton Baptist Church when Billy Montgomery was the assistant minister. I did the last year of primary school, they call it year 6 these days, and then went up to Poynton High School. I was in the same form as my closest friend Fiona. I'd also made close friends from church. My group was Jenny Evans, youngest daughter of Sylvia Neal, Nicola Sands, oldest daughter of John and Helen, and Bev Moss, oldest daughter of Gordon and Jean. Lots of people here wonder how I know so many people, so hopefully this will help fill a few gaps. My mum had been being treated at the Christie's Hospital after being diagnosed with malignant melanoma. Although I knew she had cancer, and I knew that she kept having lumps removed, I don't think I understood what it was, or what it meant was going to happen. On September the 6th, 1984, Mummy died. I was 12, Andrew was 14, and Davey was 8. We still refer to her as Mummy, because we never got old enough to make the transition to Mum. To add a bit more context, my friend Fiona had died suddenly 7 months before. She had a sore throat at school one day and died overnight. So as a 12-year-old, I started to ask why. If God is so good, why would he let these things happen? My mum's faith was so strong, and she was such an amazing person. Why would he take her away from us? I struggled with this for a few years, although I did go forward at a church one service when I was about 14. I was given a pastoral parent to guide me towards making my way to asking Jesus into my life. That lady was Sybil Humphreys, Adrian's mum. We had such a lovely time together on Fridays after school, baking, reading the Bible, having conversations about life. But I never reached the point where I wanted to make that commitment, because I was so confused and I had too many questions. I also didn't really open up about how I was feeling to anyone. I was very good at putting on a smile and pretending to everyone that I was okay. When I was 16, I approached my dad, expecting there to be a bit of a discussion and making sure I had my argument ready. I said, I'm 16 now, I'm an adult, I can make my own decisions, and I don't want to go to church anymore. And my dad said, okay. The next 35 years are what we now refer to as the wilderness. Over that time, there was always one thing I couldn't stop thinking about. I wanted to understand why my mum's faith was so strong. Even when she knew that she was dying, her faith only ever got stronger. The last words she wrote in her diary were, less of self and more of thee. I did the Alpha course here 17 years ago, just after I got divorced, when my boys were only 2 and 3. The boys, they're called Toby and Will, they're actually here, they're 19 and 20. If you want to meet them afterwards, they're the ones over there that look like little players. I was pretty angry at this time in life. And going through the Alpha course, I realised that deep down, I was actually still angry with God for taking my mum away. I got to the end of the course, and although I didn't feel angry anymore, I didn't feel that my faith had grown. I wanted to feel differently, but I didn't. So off I went back into the wilderness. I went to church occasionally. I would take the boys along sometimes as they were growing up. I considered myself to be a Christian. That's the box I would tick on forms, that's my religion. I was a good person. I still had strong Christian values that I'd been brought up with. I even looked up to the sky sometimes for divine intervention. Early last year, out of the blue, I went along to another church a few times with a friend, and this led me to coming back to Hazel Grove Baptist Church at the beginning of March last year. This very quickly felt like the right church for me, and I felt part of the family. But there was still something missing. I signed up to Alpha again, but I still had a fear that I'd get to the end of the course and not feel differently. Well, I only did the first 2 weeks. I realised very quickly that all the foundations were there. The only thing missing was that I didn't have a relationship with God. I believed, but I didn't pray. And we all know that you can't have a relationship with someone if you're not talking to each other. So on the 4th of May last year, I sat in the hot tub in the garden and I started singing songs that I could remember from church from when I was younger. Then I started praying and singing and then more praying. This is now lovingly referred to as my hot tub worship. 2 hours later, while still in the hot tub, I asked Jesus into my life. I started praying while I was walking the dog in the morning, while I was driving to work and while I was running. And for information, I am not a runner. I was running one day and I was praying and I was asking God, why have you made my life so hard? As soon as I asked the question, my running started to get easier and I started to smile to myself because I had the answer. The reason my life has been so hard is because I was trying to do it all by myself for 35 years. Everything is easier now. I'm learning to put things in God's hands and trust in his plan rather than trying to fight my way through life on my own. I've always said that his plan to take my mum away was the worst plan I'd ever heard of. But the words on her gravestone say, called to be with her Lord. I now understand that that wasn't a bad thing. That was the most amazing thing for her. And now I've found the final piece of my jigsaw. I know when my time comes, I will also be called to be my Lord.
Helen, we got this verse for you this morning.
So it's from Psalm 32:8. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will console you with my loving eye on you.
Great stuff. So, looks like there's a whole